Everyone, I'm Barbara from Fairies in My Pond, and I'm making this tutorial on how I drill out glass beads for my polymer clay dolls to make eyes. Now I'm making this tutorial because I've had many emails. Okay, I have my glass beads, and if you watch my other tutorials, I explain you got to make sure you got pure glass, because if you don't have pure glass, when you drill, it's going to start turning brown on you and you'll never get it drilled. Okay, yes, you're going to need a drill, and you're going to need a diamond bit. This attachment that I have is called a burr. Now I do have one with a larger ball on it, but I have misplaced it, but I said what the heck, I'm going to show you it can still work. Okay, now I do this, and I find it helps me out so much. I have a ruler. It has all these little circles, and I find the one that I want for the size of the iris, and I go ahead and I just take a pencil and I just sketch that in. And this way, when I drill it out, they're pretty much close to the same size. Okay, now I have a drawing here because many of you have been having a little problem. I guess maybe I'm not explaining it clear enough. So I did a little drawing, and because this whole part of the eye is the most important if you're really trying to get that eye to look like you have a nice dome lens. Okay, I have drawn just an eye here, and this here I will be drilling down, straight down in it to make that iris. I don't want to go too deep, and I don't want to go too shallow. If I go too deep, I find that what happens is that it becomes really dark looking. I don't get enough light into it. So you have to really experiment and play with that until you can see how far down to go in there. If you make it too flat, you won't get that dome. This part right up in here, and I'm going to be exaggerating this, but that part right here is what I want to create. So let's go over here. Now here's a half of an eye, and I drill straight down. When I drill, what I'm actually doing is when I go straight down, I am creating this little hook. And that hook, what that's going to do is when I put my UV gel down into it, it's going to go straight down, but it's going to come up and fill up, and that hook is going to actually go over the UV gel, and that becomes a lock. And it also becomes my domed lens to where the eye looks like the lens and the white part of the eye is all one. But this is the most important part, is to make that hook. If you don't make that hook, what's going to happen is it's going to look like you've put a drop of UV gel, resin, whatever it is that you're using. Now, I understand some would say, well, you can just go back and you can put the UV gel around the whites. Well, on glass beads, you're not going to be able to do that because it's just going to roll off of it because it's slick. Now, I've had many people say that they have this problem with polymer clay, and I have to agree with you, you do, but the little trick that I found with that is if you are using polymer clay, make sure that you wipe it down with alcohol. That really did help me at that time. I have grown since then, and I don't even make eyes like that, but I have all these tutorials of different ways that I came up for myself, so anyone that is just starting out will be able to pick which one that they feel comfortable with. But I don't do that anymore. I am strictly doing it with the glass and drilling them out the way that I am, and I'm very, very pleased with them. Now today what I'm going to show you is that I'm going to use some paints, and I'm going to explain to you something about acrylic paints and glass paints with eyes. Okay. I'm going to take one of my beads here, and I'm just going to basically show you a little bit of how I drill, and really it's going to be up to you on experimenting and trying yourself. Please, it's going to be noisy, but I can't mute it. Okay, so here we go. I want to go straight down into the hole. That's my starting point. I'm going to kind of turn my drill to the side so that you can see, but normally I would hold it straight down. And you just want to wait till you get it started, and then your drill will stop popping around. Okay, here we go. Okay, now that's the part that I really want to explain to you. Whoops. Is that if you don't have pure glass, that would have turned brown on me. And the more you push, it just doesn't go in it anymore, and it just stays just like that. That's when you know that you've got some sort of plastic in that glass eye. Okay, I pretty much have the depth that I want. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this all off camera, but I'm going to explain to you that when I take the drill, I'm going to take the bit and I'm not going to press down anymore. I'm going to take the sides of the bit and I'm going to go around the edges because I want to drill out the size of that circle that I made. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. Okay, I have drilled them out. Sometimes I have to take a little piece of sandpaper, just go over the top, because sometimes the edge, you might get a little bit of some chips, but I've never had really a big problem with that. Okay, now I'm ready to explain to you about the paints. But I do want to mention that I've taken my 2-part epoxy. I mixed up a little bit and I filled in the hole. Okay, with the paints, I find, now I'm not referring to necessarily saying to use acrylic paints on glass, but I did try it and it held up good, but I found something that I did not want. And I went and I purchased myself some more glass paints. And I did an experiment. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using these. They're a gloss enamel and they're glass paints, but they're transparent. I'm going to be using this color, a little bit of white, and even black. Okay, now with the acrylic paints, what I found with them is that they would give me a more of a solid look in the iris. When I went to the glass paints and I used the transparent one, that's when I got the watery look that the pupil and the iris has. So I'm just going to show you that this is all I do. Now you will have to let this dry. And for many of you that you're not making hollow heads and you want to pop these in the oven, I won't give out any kind of information with that anymore. I'm not even making solid heads anymore. I just feel that making a hollow head, you just have so many more options that I just totally do not like it anymore. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take my color here. You know what? I think I'm just going to, instead of using a paintbrush, I'm so used to using the paintbrush, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to just dab that in there. Now I had something on there. Okay. Okay, you want to make sure that you've got it all up on the sides and under that lip. And I want to do the same with the other one because I want them to match. But they do not have to be perfect. Our eyes are not perfect. Now, you don't want to fill it. That's not what I'm doing here. I just want to get the color onto the glass. And it's, you know, it's going to move around a little bit, but you get enough in there, it pretty much stays. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a little bit of this, I don't know what it is, pink rose. And I'm going to take just a tiny bit. You don't want to shake these because you can get air bubbles. I only want just a tiny bit. And I'm just going to put it down on the center. Just a dab. Okay, now I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm just going to play with it. Now then, the one thing that I found out about this is that when you let that dry and you feel you want that color to be darker, you can go back and put more on it. But just remember, you don't want to fill the iris up with the paint because we want enough of room for the UV gel to go down into it and to give us that dome. I don't want a flat area. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to let that dry. And then what I'll do off camera is I'm just going to go ahead and take this, the black, believe it or not, and I'm going to put the pupil in and it'll be all dry and everything, and then I'm going to put the UV gel in and you're going to see what I'm talking about with the watery effect. Okay everyone, I went ahead, I've dotted the pupil, and I just wanted to explain, I just went ahead and I put the white in, but this is what I wanted to explain with you with the white. What I use the white for is I will take my paintbrush, this is when it's dry, I'll take the white, and remember the white is somewhat transparent, and I just take the paint, a little bit of white, and I just go on one side of the iris, and it's just to give it a highlight. Okay, now here is the one with acrylic paint, and I went ahead and I dotted it, but I also put a little bit of a pearl highlight in the same way that I did this one. Now, here's the thing that I do want to explain to you is about the UV gel. There's been such a controversy with using fingernail polish UV gel, and actually I have one that I've been testing. It will be a year in August, and I have it outside. When I test something, I do the most ridiculous things with it because I figure if it holds up to the way that I'm experimenting, it's going to hold up in a doll. But anyways, this fingernail polish UV gel that I've used on this experiment that I've done, it still looks like I have just put it on. It hasn't done anything to it, but I want to at least give it a year. Okay, now, because I'm using glass beads, I would not have any problem using fingernail polish UV gel. The only thing that I would feel a little bit leery with, because I don't have it, I haven't given it enough time to experiment with it, is to be putting it on polymer clay. But I did find something out, that between the fingernail polish and magic gloss. Now, I'm saying magic gloss because magic gloss seems to be the one that really works very well for me. There's other UV gels out there that you can use on polymer clay. I've never had really good results with them. I have to really say magic gloss has really given me the best results. Okay, I'm going to take my UV gel, magic gloss, and I'm just going to drop it straight down. And what I do is I hold my tool in that UV gel just on the very top of it. Then what I do is I slowly pull it straight up. I really have no problem with air bubbles. Sometimes, I do get one in there. I can't say that I don't, but I really and truly do not have that much problem. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop it in this one. And I'm just going to hold the very tip of it until that UV gel starts really spreading it out. And if you see it from the side, if you look at it from the side as you're holding it there, sometimes you'll see a little area where it hasn't filled. Take your tool and just go around in a little circle, but keep that tool connected with the UV gel. And just move it around just a little bit. Then pull it up straight. And there you have it. Okay. I'm going to show you this. Now this is my own personal preference here. And I'm going to use magic gloss. And I'm going to drop it down into this one. Okay, I think I need a little bit more to raise that dome up just a little bit. Okay, now I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on camera, but I'm going to explain to you, and then if you decide to try this, you can experiment and you can base your own opinion on what it is that I kind of feel with myself. Okay, when I use the transparent paints, I feel I get a watery look. The acrylic paints, I get a flat look. I'm so sorry, everyone. My camera was running out of memory and I had to shut it down and delete a lot of tutorials, or not delete them, but I had to download them. Okay, I went ahead and I put them under my UV light. You didn't miss out on anything with this. Okay, but here's the part that I really want to show you, is that the transparent paints, I feel that when you use the magic gloss with the transparent paints, it gives me more depth. If I were to use fingernail polish, UV gel, on this particular eye, I don't get the depth. It doesn't magnify it as good as the magic gloss did. Now that is only what I think. Now, here is the one with the acrylic paint. Now, I wanted to use the magic gloss on this because I want you to see it with the transparent, with the acrylic, and with what I'm talking about, the acrylic paint having a flat appearance to it, so I don't get that watery look. At least this is what I think. Now I'll bring the two up together, and then you can make your own opinion. But I just think that the transparent paint really gives it even more depth, and it really can give you the watery look that our eyes do have. Now, here I'm going to turn it to the side so that you can see the dome. Now you see how that all it looks, it doesn't look like I've taken a drop and dropped it on it and it's sitting on top. I just found that when I was basically experimenting back in the day, and I would make that flat and then I would put the UV gel on it. That was always the look that I seemed to have, was it looked like there was basically a dot sitting on top. And when they were in my dolls, it looked to me like, you know, if somebody had some glasses on that were really thick and they magnify it, that's what it just made, for me, it just made that iris look like it was not right. It was too magnified and too much of a glob of clear stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to explain this. But anyways, I want to show you that, but you can just decide on what it is that you want to do. Now again, I will say this. If any of you ask me, well, can I put these in the oven? With the glass paints, if you're using it on glass beads, yes, you can. You can put it up to 275 degrees. I have no reason to put it in the oven. So, and I have not even tried it, but I'm sure that it's going to hold up. So you're going to have to make the choice for yourselves. So everyone, I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you real soon.